Right. A key area I think people are looking at is whether companies can help. And at this moment in time, I'm going to invite Andrea to step up, who's very kindly allowed me to pick her brain on certain aspects. Andrea's based at our Whiteley office and has excellent knowledge in the corporate and business sphere. So what we're looking at quite often, if you have got a portfolio of properties, it is possible to transfer those into a company, but quite often that's going to be expensive, because when a property is transferred to a company, we have potentially disposal for capital gains tax purposes and SDLT purposes. However, there are some instances when relief is available, and one of those is if a property business is transferred to a company. So, Andrea, in this context, what's meant by business?
Well, it's mainly not holding the property just for investment purposes, which obviously many people do. So you would have to be seeing it more like running a business, probably more than one property. Hire a managing agent because you'd be running it yourself. You'd be looking to be mainly your main occupation. You would at least be spending the revenue like 20 hours a week as you're spending your time on your property business and sort of many things like that.
Is there any kind of size of portfolio of properties that might be regarded as being in scope, or is it more other factors that might get looked at?
I don't think it's there's a definition of the size, but I think if you're having a single property, it's quite difficult to demonstrate that running one single property is running a business. So normally it's regarded in a portfolio of properties.
And is there any advice we'd give for people who are thinking of making that swap to be able to prove that they meet the conditions?
Yes, obviously, any records that you're keeping would be more than useful, almost essential. The type of records, obviously, you might be used to keeping your expenses for the property. Extra records would be sort of more like to do with mileage records would be extremely good, showing how much commuting you're doing maybe to the properties, having potentially a separate email address so you actually look like a business, and demonstrating that you are running that business on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Now, the concept of partnership comes into play for SDLT purposes. That's because there's a relief which applies when assets of a partnership are transferred to a company. But what do we mean by partnership here?
Oh, it's very loose in terms of definition. I mean, two people, husband and wife, could be regarded as a partnership, but you would have to demonstrate that there is a business interest rather than a jointly owned. And it'd be the same with any two individuals owning a property. So you would have to demonstrate it's more a sort of a business venture rather than two people owning a property. Ideally, you would have a partnership agreement. Ideally, you'd have to be submitting partnership tax returns to HMRC. There's a requirement for partnerships to do that. So there would be evidence that you are in a partnership.
Yeah, I've also seen with some clients they have a trading as name, so their property business might have a trading name which could be helpful. Standalone bank. The other thing to be mindful of there is where some people have owned property in their sole names and have tried to whack their partner's name on the deeds and argue they're in partnership and then immediately incorporate. There is some anti-avoidance rules in the SDLT legislation as well, so trying to catch anything that's artificial, so be mindful of that.
Is there a definition derived from a commercial portfolio compared to a residential portfolio? So this is a business that's looking after residential properties or a business looking after commercial properties?
No. No.
Yeah, you can incorporate either or a mix.
Okay. And no benefit to be looking at being in commercial property or residential, was just deep as the same.
That's right. And for SDLT purposes, it's the same.